Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. All right. Moderator, can you do a little bit of presentation? We're going to ask some amazing questions. Hello, everyone, and how are we all doing today? Lovely Saturday afternoon. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. You must be hemp dedicated, hemp passionate, and we have a wonderful presentation as well as panel for you. I know it's 20 minutes. It's going to be short, it's going to be sweet, and it's going to be to the point. The fortune is in the follow-up, and these lovely panelists are highly accessible and very knowledgeable. We have Ms. Amiee Burke over here from FIOS. She's going to give a fantastic presentation on genetics. Over here we have the lovely Devon Soloniewicz. And we also have the godfather of hemp himself, Mr. John Dvořák. So while she's getting that ready, would you each mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Devon Soloniewicz. I started large-scale operations in cannabis about 7 years ago. And I've been consulting ever since, most recently working in Canadian markets with hemp.
Hello, sorry, sibilants. I'm John Dvořák. I've been involved in the cannabis industry for 25 years with MassCan Normal, pushing for legalization, medical marijuana, and also industrial hemp. Created the cannabis curriculum, which is a talk where I cover all aspects of cannabis, including prohibition and the social problems caused by that. We're here to talk about hemp, which is great. I call hemp the green buffalo because you can do so many things with it and make so many different products. And we're going to talk a little bit about genetics, and Amy's going to give us a good overview of some really cool stuff. So glad you're here.
It's just like a real science experiment, what we're doing here. So, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is Amiee. I work for a company called Philos Bioscience, and we are a genomics company that specializes in sequencing the DNA of cannabis. So, what we're trying to present to you is a map of the largest repository of cannabis DNA in the world. And our data is actually open, so if this doesn't work out, you can go on our website later and click on it. It's actually, we call it the galaxy. So every star that you see here is a strain that we've genotyped or we've mapped the DNA. So in this galaxy, we have landrace cuts, we have OG Kush, we have skunk, we have industrial hemp, we have high CBD, everything's there. And you can actually, there's a search bar right there that acts like a Google search bar that you can go in and search names of strains, farms, breeders, and you can actually go in and look at the genetic report. So based on the topic of this conversation of just introduction to hemp and what it is, on a scientific level, when we map cultivars that come in, we don't differentiate based on the chemical composition. Meaning we don't look at that 0.3% THC or CBD to say that this is hemp and this is not hemp. We'll actually sequence the DNA and it'll show us what it's actually made up of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you a report example of a CBD hemp variety that we just mapped last month with a farm called Palmetto Harmony. They're based just outside of Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. So I'm going to try to pull it up.
Fantastic, and my name is Ellen Brown. I'm the founder of Sensimia Seminars, and I'm going to be intermittently moderating this panel. So why don't we start with you, John? A really great question is, where are people in Massachusetts going to be able to source these genetics from reputable sources?
And it's very difficult because we're creating an entire industry from the ground up. American farmers haven't been growing hemp for decades. So we have to work with farmers that are growing it. They're growing it down in Kentucky, Colorado, and also up in Canada, in Ontario. They've got over 20 years of current experience growing hemp. So that's where you're going to be able to find your seed stock. But I also want to plant another seed related to legacy hemp or feral wild hemp. They grew hemp during colonial America days all up and down the Pioneer River Valley. And so if there's any old hemp stands that you know about, they might call it ditchweed now, that we could use those genetics to restart tomorrow's hemp industry. So we're talking about 200-plus-year-old cannabis that's acclimated to this climate. If you can find some of that and then breed your own hemp, that would be really nice. I'd really appreciate that. So, no, but I'm trying to inspire people to go look, or they might know, like along riverbeds, fence lines, out in the woods somewhere, or go to look up some historical records where farmers used to grow hemp. If you can find some old hemp farms, then search around there, because it's really hard to kill. And the DEA's been trying to eradicate it, but they haven't been able to, so that's my project for you.
Yes, ma'am. And now, without further ado, we're going to have a fantastic presentation.
This is going to be flawlessly executed on the IT level. So what you're looking at here is the sample from Palmetto Harmony that they sent in. So at the top right there, you'll see a seal on the left-hand side. So we certify all our genetics. A lot of the pain points with a lot of the hemp farmers that I work with is that they don't know what they're actually getting, if it actually is a CBD hemp. So we validate that and we post it on the Galaxy. And then further down there is the family tree. So in the center is going to be the sample that was submitted. Palmetto actually had two different moms that they thought were clones, but they had different phenos. So they actually sent in both samples, and they were in fact clonal replicas. So that's why there's a number 2 in that center circle. The outer ring there are going to be the direct relatives or crosses of that variety that they have. And you can see in there that we've got well-known high CBD varieties like Catatonic, Remedy, Cherry Wine, ACDC, and even in that family group, you've got a 34 on there, which means there's 34 different clones, all called different strain names. If I can explain that. Those are all the same genetic material, so those cuts have been given out and grown and submitted back to us, all with different strain names, different phenos, because the growers have been working it, but it's the same genetic material. So again, if you're looking to source genetics and you want to validate that it is, exactly what this, you think it is, this is one way to do that. We can tell you how rare or how common your genetics are. So if you do in fact find that ditchweed in the middle of a field in Nebraska somewhere, and you want to sequence it to see, we'll be able to compare that against our whole database to validate, again, exactly if it's rare or common. And then this part of the report right here is basically like a 23andMe for cannabis. So most of the time when we talk about cannabis, we say it's either an indica, a sativa, or now everything's called a hybrid. From a genetic level, it's not exactly accurate. We actually have 6 unique population profiles, or think of them like heritage groups or ethnic groups that the cannabis species is made up of. So if you look at that horizontal bar and read it from left to right, we have a skunk group, we have a berry group, landrace, OG Kush, and a group called CBD. And so that long skinny vertical line on the right there is the actual swab of that mom that we sequence, and you can see that it's all CBD. It's very important for a hemp farmer that's trying to get their product out in the marketplace and build trust with their customers and patients to show them and be transparent about validating exactly what they're growing. And then from a breeding perspective, if you're looking to select parental lines or you want to create a stable seed line, this part of the report here measures the level of heterozygosity. Is basically telling you how variable the genetics are. So if you talk to any hemp farmers that are working genetics right now on the East Coast in particular, they're grabbing a lot of stuff from the West Coast, and that stuff's highly variable out in the field. What that means for you as a farmer is that you're going to have plants that are 3 feet high, 4 feet high, 2 feet wide. There's very inconsistency in the crop. They finish at different times. They're picking up pests and diseases, and they're just the only way to do further propagation is to clone it out, because you can't, if it seeds itself, you get phenos all over the place. So that red line right there is going to be, we want to move that red line towards the left to create a stable seed line. So you can actually estimate the number of cycles to back crops to get it to stabilize. So it's one of the most important things on reports for my farmers. And that's it.
Wonderful. Can we get a round of applause for that, please? I just learned so much. And kind of a question, I guess, for me, the peanut galleries, how much does it cost to go to FiOS, and then to, like, for an average grower, would you want to be a larger facility to do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are looking to just start out hemp, or you've got some plants at home, it's $295, but it's a way to validate. Again, if you're sourcing clones or you're sourcing genetics and you want to just make sure, number one, how stable is it when I put it out in the field? Is this actually a cut of X? Is the first step in getting that information. So more data is better.
Definitely money well spent. And with hemp on the horizon, Devon, what's going on with the Farm Bill 2018? Let me know.
Okay, so I'll do a brief overview of the Farm Bill. Currently, hemp is considered a Schedule I substance under the Controlled Substance Act. The Farm Bill would permanently remove hemp with a concentration of no more than 0.3% THC from the controlled substance list. This includes extracts, the seeds of hemp, as long as those portions of the plant remain below the THC threshold. It also will authorize states to regulate hemp growth and production by submitting a plan to the USDA. It will also make hemp research eligible for competitive grant funding under certain federal programs. It also adds hemp as an eligible commodity for the purposes of crop insurance on both a pre- and post-harvest basis. That's a huge one that the industry's been facing. That's a big issue. And then also no federal interference with the interstate transportation or commerce of hemp or hemp products. So hemp will remain a tightly regulated crop facing plenty of regulation and legal challenges. 19 of the states that allow hemp cultivation reported a crop last year, from a single acre grown in Hawaii and in Nevada to more than 9,000 acres grown in Colorado, according to Vote Hemp. And over 25,000 acres were planted nationwide. So we definitely have, a ways to go, but this is a huge step in the right direction for overall national hemp.
And it's crazy, but it's true what they say, ladies and gentlemen, all good things must come to an end. We are at our 20 minutes for our brief panel, I know, but the fortune is in the follow-up. So could you please give us your parting words, as well as where can we find you and where can we connect with you later? And we'll start with John.
You can find me at hempology.org, or you can Google cannabis, cannabis curriculum. And I want to make sure everybody knows that 0.3 threshold for THC needs to be eliminated or raised to at least 1 or 2%, because you're not going to get high on 1% hemp, trust me. And they're destroying crops if they were more than 0.3%, which is a sin to destroy hemp crops. So there's still a lot of work to do. It's great that the Farm Bill is passing, but it's just like legalization in Massachusetts. Just because it's legal doesn't mean our fight's over. We can't over-regulate it. This is not plutonium, people. We're talking about a plant. So we need to work, and so thank you very much for your interest in being here, and let me know if you need any help. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here. I think hemp is definitely a way of the future. There's so many different uses for it, bioremediation to textiles to food to just so many uses. So I applaud everyone for being here in the room, and looking forward to the future. Again, my name is Devon Soloniewicz. You can find me on social media. I'm all over Facebook, and happy to connect with anyone afterwards. Thank you.
I guess from a scientific perspective, we've only just begun. A lot of the questions that people ask about genetic markers and a stable seed line we're just beginning that. So we need everybody's help to, on our end, every time we sequence something, we're protecting plants that should be and remain in the public domain. So we help fight patents. Well, that's another topic for another conversation, but I'll say hemp is a beautiful industry to get into, and if you haven't thought about it, there's a lot of opportunity on the horizon. And look me up at Philos.
Wonderful. I hope you, can we please get a round of applause for our panelists? I hope you all have a hempy day, and we're looking forward to connecting with you. Take care. Happy 420. Perfect.
Come on up, guys. Any questions? Come ask our fantastic panelists. I know it was short, but they have plenty of time to catch on up.
It's like 100 and something years old, but now I'm gonna keep it safe in the shore. Because I'm worried. That's how we roll. We're good, we're good. Go team.
Please tell me you were still recording.
Yes, you were.